I think just running through this sales script, myself and yourself, and just me giving you a kind of quick overview of what we're doing and why we're doing it will be really, really helpful. So first and foremost is just like pre-call mindset and preparation. Now, when I'm taking a call, it's always Zoom or WhatsApp video to build a connection with the person you're calling. Much different, me and you having a face-to-face conversation, than it is to be on the phone. The other side of that is if you do a face-to-face conversation, you're much more likely to have the person in a position where they can actually take a call and they can actually sign up. So for example, if you phone somebody or if you jump on a Zoom call with somebody and they're in the car dropping the kids off at school, you're not going to get them signed up because there's just too much stuff going on in their head. They're never going to take out the bank card and make a transfer, and it just is not an ideal scenario. So what I always do at the start of a call is I'll just say, look, are you at a place where you can sit down and take a few notes, because it'll be helpful for you to take some notes. And if they say no, I'm out and about or I won't be home, I'll just say, look, maybe we're better to catch up at another time. Or if I can hear there's a lot of ruckus and noise and carry on in the background, I'm probably going to say, look, let's catch up at a time when suits you better, because it sounds like you have a lot going on. I actually want you to get value from this call and I don't want it to be a waste of your time. So let's reschedule. Now, most of the time people are not going to show up like that, but geez, I've had lads, show up, they're driving a car, they're like, they're in a restaurant, or like they're in a queue in a restaurant ordering food or something. I'm like, it's just not the time to have a proper conversation where I'm going to really try and do a deep dive in what you need. Second thing here is just send a reminder text or a voice note the night before. So if it's in the morning, night before, send a text or a voice note so people actually show up. If it's in the evening, then that day, 4 or 5 or even 2 or 3 hours, ideally 4 or 5, so people have time to see it and remember and schedule their day, just to ensure people actually show up and don't waste your time, because sometimes that can happen as well. Then in terms of mindset, they're here because they need your help. You can make their life better, and then selling them something that improves their health, confidence, happiness, in your case, performance, confidence maybe on the pitch, happiness in their sport, fulfillment, is the most honourable thing that you can do. So this is just kind of getting around the fact that selling good shit is not a bad thing. Before the call, obviously if we're just getting started, we won't have other client wins or positive messages, but you can look at your own journey and just think about your service and believing in your service. And if you think about like, how many hours of your life have you put in to get to this point? How much money have you spent on your own coaching? And I know this summer you spent a large amount, right, on coaching, double what you're charging. So remember that you're passing on all that value that you got from somebody else at half the price. And so your service, this is just really about believing in your service. And just kind of remember that like what you're selling is really, really valuable. And people are spending money on all sorts of garbage that is not as valuable as what you can sell them. And believing in your service when you are actually on the phone is going to make a huge difference. Because if you don't believe in your service, it'll come across and people will know. Whereas if you go on and you really believe and you're like, look, I know I can help you with this. I've been through this. I have this experience. I know the service is worth it. I know that I can get you the result. It comes across. Selling someone a genuine solution to a problem that they want help with is not in any way sleazy, sneaky, salesy. You're helping this person to feel empowered, take responsibility, take control. Don't forget, paying $200-300 a month to you is better than spending it on drink, drugs, takeaways, whatever other bullshit people spend their money on. And there's all sorts of other bullshit people spend their money on, but those are quite prominent ones. And then just remember, the people who have the least money a lot of the time are spending the most money on dumb shit. So a lot of the time, I will speak to people who are working kind of, fairly bog standard jobs, and they're the same people who are spending 70 quid on takeaways each week, right? So they're spending the price of coaching on junk food and cigarettes and alcohol each week. So the whole thing, like, don't worry about how much money someone is earning, because it's more so about how they're allocating their money. And sometimes you could have somebody like, for example, someone who's in school, but if they really value their sport and they're not spending money on drink and cigarettes and stuff that other kids in their year might be, well then, even though they're in Leaving Cert, they might actually have the funds. And so don't kind of look at that as being something that writes somebody off, for example. That's just an example, but there could be somebody who really takes their sport seriously and they don't have a lot of money, but they do have some money saved and they want to put that towards something that's important. And then just having a script open in the background and following it. just so you have the general guidelines. So call is generally like 5 parts. First 5 minutes is just build rapport, have a chat, get conversational, get to know the person, see what's going on in their life, as you would whenever you meet somebody. Second part, and by the way, this is like 40 minutes total. So it's not 5 minutes of rapport and then 5 to 25 minutes of discovery and then 20 to 25 minutes of a pitch. Somebody came back to me and said, geez, these are awful long sales calls. And he'd been spending 20 to 25 minutes on the pitch, whereas it's actually supposed to be a 5-minute increment between 20 and 25 approximately. So yeah, I mean, that should be pretty self-explanatory, but because it says here the call can take anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes. So don't worry if you're not exactly on the mark, but he must have missed that bit. I was like, fuck's sake, he's on the phone for 2 hours. So basically, like, building rapport, conversational, 5 to 25 minutes, discovery phase. We're just finding out like as much information. This is like when you go into the doctor and he asks you all the questions. Then we're spending a few minutes just, look, this is where you're at, this is where you want to go, this is the solution that I have. I know I can help you based on X, Y, Z. I've done this before. I've worked with other lads. I've worked with myself. This is what I can do. This is what we cover in the program. Keep it short and sweet. Don't oversell them in the program. If they have questions, they're going to turn around and ask you the questions, which is this next piece, which is handle objections. So sometimes objections are just questions. They might go, okay, sounds good, but how does the nutrition part work, or how does the training part work? And again, this is just, okay, helping them to understand the program better so they can make an educated decision. Because if they don't understand something, that's fine. You can discuss it with them and help them understand. And so if you hear no, or I'm not sure, or I have to think about it, don't say, okay, no worries, have a think about it, or okay, you're not sure, let me know when you're sure. Because they'll never be sure because they don't understand. Like, if they understand the program and if they understand what you're offering, they will have a clear yes or a no. Right? If you fully understand, they'll go, okay, I understand every aspect. Either yes, this is for me and it's what I need and it's within budget, or no, this is not for me, it's not what I need, it's not within budget. So if someone is ever at, I'll think about it, it just really means that there's unanswered questions. And so then your job is to kind of figure out what that is. And then lastly, once we've kind of got through the objections, we're going to just take payment and give them next steps. So we always want to give somebody next steps as well. So they don't just jump off the call and go, right, fuck, what now? What do I do? They want to have next steps, which they can actually implement, and they feel like they're already started. So, it could be very simple. It could be, just send me a quick video of your next 3 workouts, your, top 5 exercises or something from 3 workouts, or send me a food diary, send me a picture of everything you eat for the next 24 hours or 48 hours. Very simple for you to ask them to do, and then they feel like they're kind of moving in the right direction, and it can help you as well. So, does that make sense so far?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Cool. So, building rapport, basic stuff here. Get their name and pronunciation right. Don't forget their name. Don't forget to ask their name. Again, most of the time you'll know it, but as you start working with people who you don't know, or potentially people in other countries, this becomes more important. Introduce yourself if they don't know you. Thanks for jumping on the call. Thanks for taking the time. Ask them about themselves, where they're from, what they do. Again, if you know them, ask them about themselves. What's going on in life? How are you? How was your summer? What did you do? Find some common ground. Again, you might already have that. It might just be, what's going on in your life? They're like, flat out working, trying to get back in the gym now, big off season ahead. And you're like, yeah, same as myself, that time of year, common ground. Be authentic. Don't try and be somebody that you're not. Just connect with them as a person. And then lastly, like I mentioned previously, match their energy. Don't be over the top or super dull and boring. Just kind of match their energy, and try and not be very different to them. So these are all the kind of questions. Again, there's a ton of questions here, but it's basically, look, we could chat about the weather and the ladies' football and this, that and the other all day, but that's not why we're here. So let's get into it. Before we do, I'll just explain how these calls normally work. I'm going to ask you some questions, understand where you are, where you want to be, find out if we're a good fit, if I'm the person to help you. If we are a good fit, then we can have a look at the options. We can get the ball rolling if you want my help. And if not, there's no panic. Sound good to you? And of course they'll say, yes, sounds great. And then you move on. When it comes to questions, we want to basically gather information. And we want them to speak and we want to listen. We want to speak like 20% of the time. If we're speaking, then we haven't really asked them the questions. We haven't listened to them, and they're there to be listened to. So using these kind of phrases like, tell me more about that, or anything else on that, is a really good way just to get them to give you a little bit more, especially if they're giving you one word answers and they're not opening up. Just anything else on that, tell me more about that, anything like this. You always want to tell them that you understand them. So when somebody tells you something, just go, yeah, gotcha, understand. Yeah, that makes sense. I've had that too. I totally get you. So people are like, okay, this person understands me. It sounds simple, but it's important that people feel like, okay, this person actually gets me, and that helps you to connect. You can reference your own journey. You can say, yeah, totally understand. I was in the same position as you 3 years ago, or my client was in the same position 3 years ago. Use silence, like I said before, to get more information and get people to open up. It's awkward when there's a silence or a break in a conversation, and the person who's not used to having a conversation and actually practicing silence will break the silence because it's awkward. They're like, oh fuck, is it my turn to speak? It's my turn to speak. I better say something. And that's going to help you to then get more information and get them to open up. So what's the biggest challenge you're facing right now with your health and fitness? So in your case, this could be, what's the biggest challenge you're facing right now with your performance on the field? Or what's your biggest challenge that you're facing right now with your sport or with your strength and conditioning? Again, there's no right and wrong there. Health and fitness is a bit broad. When you're speaking more specifically, you can use the specific category. What's the biggest challenge with strength and conditioning? What are you currently doing? And they'll tell you the challenge. After every one of these questions, by the way, there's going to be an answer. So we're not just blasting these questions in a list. We're going to ask the question, listen to the answer. What are you currently doing or trying? Like, what's the training? Okay, understand. How long have you been trying this? They'll tell you, understand. What you feel isn't working for you right now. So we're getting them to actually tell you, look, this isn't working 100%. This is something that I need some help with. And if I'm reaching out to you, I'm reaching out to you because something isn't working right. If everything was working perfectly, the call wouldn't happen. So there's always an answer to this. And this is us getting a little bit closer to the problem. And they might tell you the problem, and they might say, this is something that, here we want to really find out what it is that they are struggling with. So if they say, I'm just struggling to get bigger and stronger, we want to dive deeper on that and go, okay, tell me more about that. Why is that important? What's stopping you getting bigger and stronger? We want to kind of like get some deep answers on that. So we can ask why a couple of times there as well. And they'll tell you, and maybe they say, look, I'm just not hitting the nutritional targets. I'm not showing up to the gym enough, and I'm really not consistent enough overall, and I don't have the structure. And you could say, okay, do you feel like coaching might be the answer for you? Like, is that the solution? And you're getting them to basically understand to themselves that this is the solution, this is what I need. And we're getting kind of like a small commitment. And they're saying, yeah, do you know what, I think a coach actually is what I need, and I think the accountability is the thing I've been lacking. So we're basically getting them to sell themselves and justify that coaching is what they need, because it is what they need or they wouldn't be here. And then, is there anything else that can hold you back right now? And we're finding out about objections, So at this point in the call, if they say, for example, yeah, look, I'm a student, so my cash flow is very tight. You could start to say, gotcha, understand. Do you mind if I ask you, like, what sort of free cash flow do you have that you could invest in this? Like, do you have a little bit of money each week that you can put towards this? And they might say, look, I have zero at the moment. And then you can go, okay, understand. Is there anywhere we can save a bit of money? Like, where are we spending money at the moment? And they might then tell you, well, look, I'm spending money on drink on the weekends, or I'm spending money on takeouts, and I've had this before with a client who was like, look, I've basically no free cash flow. And I said, okay, totally understand. I was like, so do you mind if I ask you, like, it's a little bit personal, but do you mind if I ask you what you're spending your money on now, just so I kind of understand what we're working with and see if we can help you to make it work? He was like, well, to be honest, I spend about 70 euros a week on takeaways. And at the time I was selling coaching for 50 euro, like 200 a month, 50 euros a week. So I said, brilliant. He was like, what's brilliant about that? I said, well, you have 20 quid left over by the time we knock out the takeaways, because this is going to cost you less than what the takeaways are costing you. And if you want to get into shape, we're going to have to knock the takeaways out anyway. So you're actually going to be up 20 quid a week, right? So that was just, he had told me he had zero, but then when we actually dived a little bit deeper, we could kind of figure that. So by the time we got to the end of the call, then that had actually been dealt with already. This could also be time, you know, again, if people think that they have to spend, sometimes people are like, I just don't have the time to be in the gym for 6 or 7 hours a week. And I'm like, who told you have to be in the gym for 6 or 7 hours a week? Wait, slow down. Like, we can work out 45 minutes a day, 3 days a week, and get the same results. So again, you're just figuring out, and a lot of the time, the thing that people think will stop them isn't actually the real thing. They're like, oh, I don't have time to meal prep, so I can't get in shape. It's like, well, you could just make better choices. You know, you don't have to prep everything. There's plenty of people who never meal prepped in their life and are in great shape, for example. And then you can give us an example here of, you know, we did this with my client. Anything or anyone else involved in the decision-making process. So again, if you're dealing with guys who are a little bit younger and playing sport, their parents might have some say. And they might be like, well, look, to be honest, I need to speak to my parents to see if they'll fund me on this. And so now you kind of know, okay, well, there's a parent involved. And you can, by the way, you can offer to speak with their parents. You can say, well, look, if your parents are involved in the decision-making process, do you want to actually have a chat with them on the call? And you can bring them on, because you can say, well, look, if they're the ones who are going to make the purchase, it makes sense to speak to them and just say, look, I'm a genuine lad, I know that I can help him out, and that will kind of put them at ease as well. And if you had a conversation with a parent, for example, they'd actually see, geez, this is actually a good investment for my son. Like, this is a lad who's going to help him get towards his goals. He's going to keep him on the straight and narrow. He's going to keep him out of the pub. You know what I mean? Mostly out of the pub. And so you could, again, sometimes this is like relationship. I think for yourself, it's probably not going to be too much of that. But, you know, sometimes someone's like, yeah, well, look, myself and the wife, I just got a mortgage, and so I'd have to chat with her about the pricing, and then it makes it a little bit more tricky. But you can say, well, look, would she understand that you were here? Does she know it's important to you to change this thing? Would she be happy that you're taking action on this? And they might go, well, do you know what? She actually would be happy, so I'm going to do it. So this is just, again, being kind of clear on what's going on behind the scenes. Okay, let's think about the future. If you couldn't fail, what would you like to see over the next 90 days? What are the changes? What about a year from now? This is the long-term vision, right? So now we're figuring out what this lad wants. Yeah, he wants to get to strength and size in the next 90 days. Yes, he wants to have the best off-season and put on 5 kg. But in 3 years' time, he wants to play for the county. Okay, so like now we're getting the full vision of what's going on. And then why? Okay, so why? Why is that important? Why? And the reason there's 3 why questions is so we get to that deeper level. Why is that important to you? I want to get in shape. Okay, why does getting in shape matter? Because I just think I'd feel better. Okay, I understand. Why would getting in shape make you feel better? Like, what's actually going on here? And you can say to them, look, you can call it out. You can be like, look, I'm going to push you a little bit on this because I feel like maybe there's something that I'm not aware of, or there's something that you haven't kind of told me, and I want to help you the most, so I'm going to push you to tell me a little bit more. And you can tell people, again, you can be authentic and be like, I'm going to push you because I want to get to the root cause. And this is like the doctor. The doctor doesn't care about asking you an awkward question. He doesn't care about asking you an intimate question about all sorts of things that you don't want to answer. But it's his job, and he knows that if he asks that question, you say, well, yeah, I do have a weird pain somewhere that I shouldn't have a pain. That's very important information. So you're kind of getting to the root cause. You know, and sometimes this can be, a lot of the time, especially in the health and fitness space, maybe less in the performance space, but a lot of the time it's like someone's gone through a breakup and they're feeling terrible and they want to get in good shape. It's kind of like the revenge, what do they call it? The revenge gains or something?
Yeah, revenge body, yeah.
Revenge body, yeah, that kind of thing. And then, you know, thank them for sharing. Like, thank you for sharing. Like, I appreciate that might have been difficult. What happens if you don't take action on this? And again, you're getting them to understand the cost of not working with you. So this is, we have the price of working with you, but we're also getting them to understand the cost of not working with you. By the way, are you good for time? Because I know we're a little bit over, but is that all right for you?
Yeah, you can do another. I can probably do the quarter. So.
Sure. Yeah. I'll blast through this in 5 minutes. I just realised I was like 10 minutes over. I'm deadly for this on calls because I just get really into it. And then, you know, almost there on the questions front. Why is now the right time for you to pull the trigger, make the change? and they'll tell you why it's a good time. Again, you're just getting them to kind of clarify in their mind that now is the time. Why would I wait? I agree. In terms of priority, how important is it to you? Now, if they say 5 out of 10, go, okay, I understand. Where did we lose the other 5? Like, because back up here, we spoke about this being something that's you're really struggling with, and now down here we're at a 5. Where did we lose 5? And they go, well, yeah, maybe it's actually closer to a 7, or I wouldn't even give somebody a price if they said it was 5 out of 10. I'd say, well, look, to be honest, if it's 5 out of 10, I don't know if it's really that much of a priority, and I want you to get a result. And sometimes people go, oh no, I mean, it's actually higher, it's higher, And you basically want to get them up to a 9 out of 10 here. If they're an 8, 9 out of 10, you're ready to kind of give them the price and tell them how the program works. If they're like a 5 or 6, you want to find out, well, what would make you a 7 or an 8? And once you kind of get them there, okay, you're ready to rock away. If it's a good fit, they're like, yeah, okay, lastly, what would make you a great client for me to work with? So you're getting them to kind of give you the reasons they're a good client. So you're kind of positioning yourself here as like, look, I don't just take on anyone. I want to make sure that you're actually going to be a good fit for me. Awesome. Covered a lot here. I don't think there's any more questions. Anything else you can think of? And they'll say no. And you go, okay, based on what you've said, I can definitely help. Add some sort of supporting points. You can say, look, I've been through this journey myself. My client was through this journey. You can read this in your own time. I can take you from where you are now to where you want to be in the next 90 days. Obviously, reference the conversation. Don't just say where you are now to where you want to be. Like, say the point they are, the point they want to be. Would you like to know how? They'll say yes. Great. The program covers 3 main pillars: training, nutrition, lifestyle. For you, it's maybe training, nutrition, recovery, whatever is right. Built for longevity, doing something you can actually stick to. Built to get great results into the future. This isn't a one-stop shop. This is 90 days to set you up for the future. You'll still be able to keep an active social life. Again, this might not be relevant. It might be you'll still be able to keep your speed while you gain the weight and the strength and the size. This will be based on what's important to them, right, in the conversation. So just kind of basically assure them that they can keep doing what they're doing. We'll check in every week to ensure we're getting results. You have access to me via WhatsApp. Again, whatever your system is, just kind of articulate that. And then you basically give them the 3 final things: the minimum commitment period, the guarantee, and the investment. Once we start, we're committing to a minimum period of 90 days, as this is what we need to get real results that last. After that, you can stay as a long-term client at a discounted rate if you're still loving the program. Fair? They'll say, yeah, sounds fair. I personally guarantee the results. So if you complete your program fully and you don't get results, or you're unhappy with the level of service, I'll continue working with you for free until you're happy. Sound good? Now, this is safe for you because if they do the program fully, 100%, they'll get results. And if they don't do it 100%, you don't owe them anything. So it's still safe. Like, you're not actually going to have to work for somebody for free. Because if they do the program 100%, of course they're going to get results. Like, without doubt. And any program, if you do any program 100%, you'll get results. But it also gives them a little bit of peace of mind. And you're not like tricking them or anything. It's just like, logically, if they do the program, they'll get the results. And if they don't do the program, they can't expect to be coached for free, because that's not a fair arrangement. And you're not saying that you'll work with them for free if they don't do the work. It's like, of course you have to do the work. And then lastly is the investment. All plans, all support and accountability and a guaranteed result are normally priced at 600, maybe in your case. I'm offering a case study special, or I'm offering a special rate for action takers who are a good fit, are ready to get rocking. If you sign up today and if you give me a written testimonial at the end, then we can get this rocking for 90 days at just 600. And then you shut the fuck up because this is the point where they're taking all of the information and going, okay. And they say in sales, whoever talks first loses. Don't be needy. Don't oversell. They have all of the information. They have the price, and let them make the decision. And if they don't say yes immediately, they'll probably ask you some questions, and then you can kind of figure out. This is the point where it's like, okay, they'll kind of talk themselves out, and you can kind of objection handling. So you can read this in your own time, because I know we're a little bit tight. But basically, you're going to find out, okay, what's holding you back? What do we need to do to get you started? Do you have some questions or queries? Is there something you're unsure of? Find out what the questions are. Because if people say, I need to think about it, what that actually means is there's something that they're unsure of that you haven't covered and they're a bit wary. And listen, they can go and think they can spend 4 days sitting in their room thinking. They're still not going to know the answer to the question. Do you know what I mean? So it's up to you to then go, look, I totally understand. Just tell me, what do you need to think about? What's not clear? Is this not a good fit, or is there just something that you're not sure about? And then you're going to be able to kind of proceed. I'll actually do a separate training on objection handling, because that's a whole other skill. But this will get you 80% of the way there. And if the program is good and you're talking to qualified lads who are a good fit, this is going to get most of them over the line.
Yeah, that's spot